Awesome. Welcome, guys, to My Understanding. We are joined here today with Doug. He is a master trainer over at Lifetime. Just an incredible man, very smart, very knowledgeable. He is also somebody who used to be a fighter for quite some time. Remind me, how many years were you doing that? You were doing that for quite a few.
Well, it was a lot to quantify. I was kind of one of those on and off guys. So like overall, I mean, I started Kempo karate, if you want to consider that, when I was 13. So that was, I don't know, 19 years ago now.
Dang.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's incredible.
and I'm not currently competing or anything, but it's still part of my life.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, so one thing that I'm aware of is that you do, I mean, obviously, but you do a lot of kind of training at the gym that you're working at,
Yeah,
and you do a lot of it is like boxing training. Is that correct?
I do. And you know what's funny about that is I don't know if you know this, but before I worked at Lifetime, I've been at Lifetime for 6 or 7 years. And before I worked at Lifetime, I worked at UFC gym.
Yeah.
And I left UFC gym so that way I could get away from the fight life
Away from
and
that
just
fight
be a
life.
regular personal trainer. And I just wanted to be considered a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be the boxing guy. I didn't want to do that anymore. I thought I was leaving that life behind me.
Yeah.
And it just kind of follows you. I think it's just because like it's a skill set that a lot of other people don't have. So since I've spent so much time doing it and coaching it, that it's something that kind of stood out. So that it kind of set me apart at Lifetime. So, but it's kind of funny how that worked out. Like everybody considers me the boxing coach, and I didn't want to be that guy.
Like I was hoping to avoid all of
I wanted to
this.
be the weight loss coach and be like just like a regular personal trainer. I didn't want nothing to do with being the boxing coach.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, first things first, I just want to bring up the shirt. I'm loving it. I think the
man.
outfit is great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I came in and I said we were gonna do some funny outfit thing or something.
God.
And the button, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do a funny outfit. I'm gonna bring some class to your show.
Yeah.
And then when I walked in, my button just kind of came off, and now we're rolling with it.
We're just
and now,
going with it.
Now we're going with the whole open chest theme.
Yeah, you convinced me to go for it, and I look like a child compared to you.
No, you got a great chest, man. You got to speak with it. That's great.
Just lift it up. Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate you. You've always got such a good mindset and just mentality around life.
Thank you, man. You know what I want to start with? I want to start by saying that it's so impressive you're actually doing this. Like, how many people do you know that say like, oh man, we should do a podcast, or if I did a podcast, it would be so interesting? And who does them? No one. Nobody does them.
I mean, what's funny is as I've been getting into this, I'm finding there's a lot of people that do, but also there's that many more that don't.
Right. Yeah. So it's cool that you're actually giving it a shot. So
yeah,
good job, man.
It's been such an incredible experience. It's been so much fun. And I mean, I've gotten to just work with a lot of my friends so far and a lot of the other people in this industry. And I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly. I mean, this is, I think, one of the funnest things that I've ever done. And I'm glad that I kind of just started it. Yeah. And I'm just going for it because this has been great. I've learned a whole lot, honestly.
Nice.
And I'm just excited to see kind of where it goes, where I can take it, and what more I can learn as I go.
That's awesome, man. Good for you.
Sweet. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on. Let's kind of hop into it. I've got quite a few questions for you. And I think the first one is just what got you into fighting the first time? I know you said you started kind of when you were 13 with Kempo karate.
Right.
But what got you into it, and what made you realize you wanted to kind of start competing when you were doing it?
Yeah. So, I feel like if you interviewed 10 fighters, 9 of them probably had some daddy issues. And the 10th one was probably the dad that left number 9. Like you were quite literally either like the result of trauma or you are the trauma. All fighters now, and it's not all fighters. Like there are some fighters that come from, like, do you know who Tom Aspinall is?
Yes.
Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion of the UFC currently. And he had this interview after one of his fights. He said, like, I come from like a normal family, from a normal house. Like I wasn't beat as a kid or anything. Like you don't have to be abused in order to be a fighter. Like it's kind of like a famous interview that he has. But I would say that
That's great. He's like, yeah, I had full support from my family.
right.
My dad was supportive.
Yeah,
My mom
made
loved
6
me.
figures, like everything was fine. But the majority of people are not like that. So like my story is very similar to a lot of fighter stories where it's like you kind of came from nothing, very poor upbringing, abusive households, like asshole dad. I remember in Kempo karate, we used to live in a motorhome parked by the train tracks by Home Depot. And my dad would drive me across the street to my karate place, and like they dropped me off at the karate dojo, and the people in karate were like, "Is that your fucking house?" Like, yeah, that's my house. Like, I live in that thing. So, it's like, I think one of the reasons why so many fighters come from that rough upbringing, abusive, drug related household or something like that. One is because it just like it hardens you as a person. Like it's when you have like a nice house, nice family and everything, like why would you go and get punched in the face for fun? Like, what's the point of that? Like you don't want to do that, you know?
Tom Aspin does, apparently.
Tom Aspin all that. Well, yeah, that's true. There are some outliers, but like, and one thing is that you're just like so angry at everyone. They like it's enjoyable for you to hurt people.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that that's why so many fighters tend to gravitate toward it, and it's also kind of like a way out for a lot of people.
Yeah.
With a lot of fighters, it's kind of like their ticket out. It's almost easier in a way than like the long road of like developing a skill and going to college and getting a job. It's like if you're good at fighting, initially you're like, oh my god, you see people on TV and you're like, I could make it. Yeah. I could be this millionaire Conor McGregor type of fighters that makes a bunch of money and gets famous doing it, and this is like my ticket out. This is my way out.
Yeah,
you know. But a lot of it too is that like when you come from a rough upbringing, I think for a lot of people, it's like especially young men, you don't really have too many good male role models. But when in fighting, there are many really good male role models, especially like if you're a champion, you kind of have to be a good person in a way, a little bit.
Interesting.
Like you can't just be some asshole that like likes punching people in the face for fun and all of a sudden now you're world champion. Like there are some qualities of being a person that you have to have in order to succeed in fighting. One of them is like learning how to lose, not just learning how to win.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point that you bring up. I would not have kind of thought of that. I mean, it makes complete sense because anytime you get into a competitive sport, like you're bound to lose at some point.
You're bound to lose, and not even in competition, but in training specifically. So you have to be like a good person. You can't just be like a bully. And like bullies, when they lose, what they do? They tuck tail and then they quit. They're like, screw this, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
But in order to be a good fighter, like and a great fighter, you have to be able to take losses, and you have to be able to learn from them. You have to be able to be humble and be honest with yourself, and also be supportive of your teammates and everything. There's a lot of qualities. There's respect, all this stuff that you have to have these things in order to be champion. So like if you're a young man and you don't have that many good role models, you're looking at fighting and there's all these like good people, but they're not doing good things, but they have to be almost like a good person in a way. Like when I was a kid, do you know who George St. Pierre is?
I'm not as familiar. I'll be honest.
There's kind of like a Mount Rushmore of UFC and MMA as a sport, and George St. Pierre is always on that Mount Rushmore. People consider him for sure in the top 5, maybe number 1 of all time in the UFC.
Okay.
Next to like John Jones, Anderson Silva, Demetrius Johnson, George St. Pierre's up there with those guys.
Okay.
And he was such a good person. Like he was all about respect and integrity and honesty. And I remember watching him when he was UFC champion. And I remember just thinking like, I want to be like that guy, like he was just so cool. Like everything about it. So I think that's why I kind of gravitated towards fighting. And I originally started in Kempo karate. I was 13 years old. And I went through the belt rank system. And I thought I was the shit. Because like when you had such like a small dojo like that, I was so angry, and everybody was just there to like help, like learn how to defend themselves and everything. And I was there. I was like, I'm gonna fucking kill everybody
I'm
in
gonna
here.
beat all of you up.
Yeah, I was like so angry as a kid and so violent. And apparently that works in fighting. You know? So
turned out really well, apparently.
yeah. And when I was about 16, this is how I switched over from doing karate. And I was in Kempo karate. I switched over from doing Kempo karate to MMA. Is around when I was like 15 or 16. I was walking home and I got jumped at the park by some dudes. And to be honest, it was 2-on-1, and I got hit from behind to start with it. So it wasn't that fair of a fight. But long story short, I got my ass whooped, man. I got my butt whooped so bad. And when it came down to it, like all that karate stuff with the hands and inward out, none of that shit worked. It didn't work at all. And I just, I took my licks and I went home and I was thinking about it. I'm like, damn, well, that was time well spent, right? I spent like 3 years doing this whole karate thing. I was like, none of that worked.
Yeah.
And so I was like, maybe this whole thing on TV with UFC with George St. Pierre and the Ultimate Fighter and all that, like maybe there's something to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just Googled MMA gyms in my area, and I went to a place called Marinobles.
Okay.
So Dave Marinoble was the IKF middleweight world champion. IKF is the International Kickboxing Federation.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a kickboxing middleweight world champion, and they had a lot of like top dudes over there. A lot of guys back in like this area. You either went to Navaroni's or Marinobles. Those were kind of like the two gyms that you went to for MMA and kickboxing. And so he's a very well respected guy. Bunch of people that were really famous, like Uriah Faber, Randy Couture, Frank Trey, bunch of guys like trained over there.
Okay.
And so he's very well respected. And I went in there even after getting my ass kicked, like very recently before that. I went into that gym and I was like, hey, just let you know, like I was a brown belt in Kempo karate at that time. And I was like, just let you know, like I'm really fucking good.
Just already going there, just talking
just
yourself
so you know,
up.
like I'm really fucking good. So like you're gonna have to put me in with like the advanced class or something. And Mr. Marinoble's nickname was the Madman, and he's the Madman for a reason. Like that guy's fucking crazy, man. He's
clinically insane. He's
very crazy. And he's like, huh. Okay, yeah, you're really good, huh? He's like, you got your parent with you? Here, have your guardian sign this. Sign that. I'm like, yeah, all right. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna do like some. What are we doing? And he's like, well, here, put this on. Does this fit? He's got this headgear. He puts this headgear on me, and I'm like, yeah, that fits, And before I know it, I'm in a fucking boxing ring, standing across the ring with a grown man that looks very angry and really looks like he wants to hurt me. And I'm kind of realizing, like, we got the big 16-ounce boxing gloves on, the mouthpiece in, the headgear and all that. And I'm like, Marinoble's standing at the bottom of the ring. And at that point, so like in karate, at least the Kempo karate that I did, there are a lot of different rules and everything, but one thing is that we would give each other like a percentage of how hard we're going. So it could be like, we're going like 20% right now, or 30. We would never go 100%. That was like not. We didn't do that.
Foreign land to you.
Yeah, we didn't do that. But even that's kind of like a weird concept, right? Because it's not like you got a freaking dial on the back of your ear and you can be like, ooh, 20%. Like, what does that mean? Like not every punch that you throw is at 100% anyway. So like, what is 20? It kind of doesn't make sense. But so I'm sitting there, I'm realizing like, okay, we're about to spar now. And And I looked down at Marinobles and I'm like, hey, Mr. Marinoble, how hard are we going? 20%, 30%, what? And he goes, you'll see. And then just rings the bell.
Like,
ding,
oh,
ding, ding. And the freaking round starts. And again, I got my freaking ass beat so bad by that man. Dude, I still remember it. And the round was like 3 minutes and I barely freaking survived. And then I go back in the corner, and I didn't know what the hell was going on, because like the difference between just stylistically between Kempo karate and kickboxing, like there's a lot of different rules. Like in Kempo karate, you can't kick below the belt, so like getting kicked in the legs and in the knees was like a completely foreign thing to me. Like
I hadn't built up that resilience yet.
Yeah, it's just like I didn't even know what to do. I didn't know how to defend it. I'd never been kicked in the leg. Can't do this. Like, and then also I've never been punched in the face 100%. And apparently that's a big part of fighting.
Who would have guessed?
Who would have guessed?
Wild.
So then I remember getting back to the corner, and I remember thinking like, man, that didn't go well either. And at that point, like with that round, I remember feeling like I was like trying to fight like them. Like I was a karate guy, and we would stand very narrowly, like sideways like that, and we kind of like bounce side to side, like. And I didn't want to fight like that. Like I thought it was at an MMA gym, so I fight like an MMA guy.
Yeah.
And I remember when I got back to the corner, I was like, well, that didn't work. I got to try something different. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna fight like me. And I was like, okay, and they're hitting as hard as they can, so I'm gonna hit as hard as I can. And so I went out into the second round, and do you know what a Superman punch is?
I'll be honest, no, not really.
This is great for your understanding.
Yeah.
A Superman punch is basically when you like fake a kick and then you go with a punch. Okay. So I had seen that on The Ultimate Fighter. There was a fight where like a fighter did that, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna try that move. So I set it up a few times, and I kicked the guy a few times, and then faked the kick, and then went with the Superman punch and just floored him. And
there we go.
And I was like, and that was kind of like the first time that I ever hit somebody as hard as I could. Yeah. Because the first round I was just survived, and the second round I was like, all right, I'm just gonna punch him as hard as I could, and I floored him, and basically that ended the sparring match. And that's how I started.
That's awesome.
I started by going into it full on because I was some cocky ass kid that thought that he was the shit in Kempo karate, and then went to that kickboxing school, and they basically were trying to make an example out of me. Like they probably didn't want me back. Like, screw this kid. Let's kick this kid's ass and get him the fuck out of here.
Let's get him
Make
out
sure
of here.
that he never comes back.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I started. That's kind of a long answer for whatever you just asked me. That's how I started in MMA and in kickboxing.
And kind of how that's when you started realizing you wanted to take it more seriously.
Yeah, for sure. I pretty shortly after that I started competing. So I just want to clarify, I was never a professional fighter. I was an amateur fighter. So like to a regular person, like what the hell is the difference between a professional fighter and an amateur fighter? It's like the same. I mean, you're going into a cage with another person that wants to kill you. It's like it's kind of the same thing. There's some difference in the rules, but the main difference between an amateur and a professional is that an amateur, you're not getting paid to do it. Mm-hmm. Professional, you're getting paid. So like once you're getting paid to do it, then you're considered a professional. Yeah. And once you're a professional in one combat sports, you're essentially a professional in all of them. So like you can't be a professional MMA fighter and then say, I think I want to try a boxing career and then start as an amateur. You can't go backwards. Oh, so like once you're a professional in one combat sports, you're professional in all of them.
Gotcha.
So, but I was never a professional in any of them. I was an amateur fighter. And there's some loopholes. Like I got paid to do them because even though they don't give you a purse, there's like a couple of loopholes. Like if you sell tickets for the event, they will give you a cut of the tickets that you sell. So you sell like a bunch of tickets or something, and I thought I was making like so much money. It's probably like, I don't know, probably like $50 or something like that. I thought it was like rich,
Yeah.
making $50 off a freaking fight. But yeah, so that's the difference. And then there's some differences in the rule sets as well. So every commission is different, like it varies state to state. But say in California,
Hmm.
if you're let's just take MMA for example. If you're an amateur, you fight with the shin guards on.
Okay.
Professional, you don't fight with the shin guards on. Amateurs, you can't knee or elbow to the head,
Yeah.
but you can knee to the body. And then professionals, you can knee and elbow to the head or to the body.
Yeah.
So it's like some, and I don't know if you've ever been elbowed to the head.
It's not a pleasant
It
feeling.
does not feel good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, so that those rules are in place for a reason. So anyway, I was an amateur fighter. I competed. I've competed in almost everything. I've competed in boxing, in kickboxing, and wrestling in high school and in college. Jiu-jitsu, both with the gi on and without the gi on, and MMA, of course. And then I don't know if you know this about me, but I competed in eskrima.
Okay.
Eskrima is Filipino stick fighting.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so I competed in continuous eskrima and point eskrima.
That's awesome.
So,
How did you even get into that? Like, what?
well, that yeah, I know. Well, that so the school when I did Kempo karate, sometimes just kind of like keep it fresh. We would have this cycle method where we would add in like a new martial art, so just to kind of keep us diverse. And that was around the time like that martial arts really started to blend together.
Okay.
I went to a dojo. It was called United Martial Arts, so it was just a combination of a bunch of different arts like Kempo, karate, taekwondo, kung fu, um, uh, um, kendo, aikido, and we did some weapons and stuff like that. And the weapons, the eskrima stick fighting was kind of like the most practical of all the weapon arts. So we did knife and gun defense too, so that's very practical. But like eskrima is just like a stick, it's like about the size of your forearm.
Yeah.
And the concept of it is that like you could grab anything. Like I could grab that freaking stick on the camera right there and then beat you over the head with it. So it's kind of like supposed to be like a universal just object that you can grab and
So what I'm hearing is you walked in this room and you're like, all right, what can I beat this man with?
right. Yeah, that's exactly
everything. Got it. Okay, good.
Everything. Yeah. So with eskrima, the stick fight, in terms of competitions that I did, there were two different types of competitions. One is the point sparring. So it's when you have the point sparring, you don't have any protection on, but the stick that you have is like foam stick, and what you do is like you're standing across from each other. You got your stick, I got my stick, and there's three judges sitting mat side, and then the referee as well. And the referee calls start, or hajime is what they say.
Yeah.
They would call hajime, and then that means that we're both trying to hit each other. First one to score wins, and they stop the action, and then all judges point towards the person that they think scored the point. And then it's like first to 3 points or something like that. I can't remember. First to 3 points wins.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah. So it's quite literally just hit and don't be hit. It's about speed. You have to have really good in and out movements to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is continuous sparring. Continuous sparring is way more intense, where you're holding a real stick, like you're holding the real eskrima stick, and you have the face protection on, and they just put a 3-minute timer on, and it's just like
just go and
just beat the shit out of each other with some sticks, And I remember watching one competition, one guy disarmed the other guy, disarm, because that's a big part of the techniques in eskrima is using your stick to disarm the other guy's stick. So I mean, if you have two weapons, they have none.
You're done.
Yeah, you're screwed. But I remember watching one. The guy disarmed the other guy, and the referees just kept letting it go, and he just beat the shit out of him.
Standing over
3 minutes.
Oh man!
Bang, bang, bang. So yeah, I competed in both of those, and And competing in a lot of different martial arts, there's so many similarities between them. Just like your mindset is really important. That's a big part of fighting
Yeah.
is your mindset going into a fight.
Yeah, which I'm actually kind of curious about then. In regards to you, like, how did your mindset change from, let's say, like your first fight all the way up until your last one, essentially?
Mm. You know, my journey with fighting was so sporadic because I had so many things get in the way, injuries and things that get in the way for with all fighters. So some of my fights were like years apart. You know,
Hmm.
I would compete and then and go years without competing again, and then compete and do well, and then stop for whatever reason. So, but like your mindset in fighting, there are really it's fighting is pretty universal across the board. But like you watch two animals fight, you watch two people fight, like there is a relationship that gets established very early on in any kind of altercation. There's the hunter and the hunted. You know, there's the predator and the prey. And what you need to do in the beginning is you need to establish your role as the hunter
Hmm.
as early as possible, because we as humans we tend to kind of like accept our roles in a way. Like you'll see this all the time in fights where when one guy's winning, the other guy's kind of losing. The other guy just kind of turns on survival mode, and his shots become way more desperate.
Mm.
You know, he's like trying to look for like one Hail Mary that will like change the course of the fight.
Yeah.
And he goes very defensive, and every time the guy goes to come in or something, he overreacts and flinches, puts his hands up, and kind of gets defensive. So your mindset going into fights is very important, and you need to program your mind before your fight as the hunter. You need to
Yeah.
be the attacker, and that's I think that's an important thing that fighting teaches you that is pretty universal across like just being successful in anything really.
Hmm.
Is you need to program your mind to be the hunter and not the hunted.
Yeah.
I would have these little mantras that I would say to myself because when you're fighting, especially like on the come up, if you're like an amateur fighter, you're not going into the ring, into your gym rather, and winning constantly.
Yeah.
You're going there
Yeah.
and probably getting beat up, and but you're going to be competing against somebody that's at your level. So it's kind of a mind fuck, you know, because
Yeah.
then you're trying to base your worth off of all the training that you have in the gym, and you're thinking like, man, do I freaking suck, or am I just training with like world champions that are far better than me, and I'm not going to be fighting these guys.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, again, you have to just like really try to convince yourself. Your mentality is very important.
Yeah. So did you have any just like pre-fight rituals that you would do just to help you kind of lock in?
Yeah, your alone time as a fighter is really important. You can't just be around people. There's a you know, who, I keep asking you about all these people that nobody else cares about anymore. There's a fighter. His name is Marvin Hagler, probably my favorite boxer of all time. It's Marvin Hagler. He was one of the best middleweights of all time, and he was notorious for having these uh, training camps from hell, is what he called them.
Mm.
And he would live in isolation. So he would go to like,
Jeez.
yeah, he would go far away from his family and his friends, his wife and his kids, and he would live in complete isolation and just train
Oh
alone.
man.
And he would bring some of his like training partners and stuff like that, and he'd have a good routine. He wasn't just training alone, but he would live alone and with no TV, nothing like that.
Wild.
Just because the mentality of it is, you know, you're going to war, is what it is. You're going to war.
That's
and
fair.
I mean, people have died in the ring. People have been seriously hurt in the ring.
Yeah.
And you do need to put your mind into a different state,
Yeah.
in order to compete at your highest level.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, when things start happening, things start going wrong, you start thinking like, I don't really have to do this. I could just tap out. Like I got a beautiful wife waiting for me at home in a comfy bed. Like
I have a loving father and mother.
I really don't have to be here. And you don't want to have any of those thoughts. Like you want it to be kill or be killed.
Yeah. What do I need to do to change the tide?
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, your mentality is very important. I would have these little things. I'm like almost kind of embarrassed to like tell you like what I would say, but I would have these little rituals that I would say to myself. I would say, my mind is strong, my body is strong, my spirit is strong, and if I believe, and I do believe, then anything is possible and
Yeah.
nothing is out of reach. And I would
Yeah.
just say that over and over and over and over to myself. And that, for whatever reason, that really helped me.
Hmm.
But you just have to, you have to be able to put yourself in a warrior's mindset, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a big part of the game in fighting. It's not just the physical, no, I would say number one, that's like the most important in fighting is the skill. Of course, you have to have the skill
Okay.
of being able to, well, okay, so even with skill, you could be good at a chosen skill,
Yeah.
like say whatever it is, boxing or whatever your chosen skill is, could be pickleball or whatever it is, right?
There we go.
But then performing that given skill is like a whole separate skill,
Okay.
right? Like
Yeah.
I'm sure you felt that. Like I've watched some of your pickleball competitions, and you done really well in some of them. But sometimes it's like it's not even a matter of how good you are at that skill.
Mhm.
Performing the skill is a whole separate skill,
It is. It really is.
right? And
Yeah.
you could feel that. So that's why um that's why competing as an amateur and getting as many fights as possible as an amateur is really important, because you're just developing that skill of actually competing,
Yeah.
which is a whole separate skill.
Yeah.
So yeah, skill is very important. Your mentality is also very important. Muhammad Ali has a quote. He said, champions are made from something they have deep inside of them: a desire, a dream, a vision. They have to be a little bit faster. They have to have last minute stamina. They have to have the skill and the will, but the will must be stronger than the skill.
That's awesome.
The will must be stronger
Yeah.
than the skill.
Just the will to keep on going and keep on fighting.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how skilled you are if you don't have the will to fight.
Yeah.
The will is the most important thing, and the skill, of course. And then there's also just like the actual physical conditioning aspects of everything.
Yeah.
Like
You got to be able to last.
you got to be able to last. You
Yeah.
have to have long lasting stamina. You have to have speed. You have to have strength. Um, you have to have kind of like everything, really.
Mhm.
It's like everything wrapped up in one. Um, but then that's when styles come into play, because some guys are not strong and they still win.
Yeah.
And they'll win just based off of volume punching instead of just power punching. Or
Yeah.
some guys are really bad starters and they'll start out really slow, and but they're really good at being able to figure out their opponents and be able to last a little bit longer. So, and some guys just rely solely on their toughness, being able to take a shot and be able to counter back.
Yeah.
So that's what one of the great things about fighting is that there's not one way to win.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to win.
Mhm.
And
Which is kind of cool, because you get to see a lot of different fighting styles that way. You get to see,
yeah,
how different people choose to handle being in the ring.
yeah, absolutely. And that's what's exciting about MMA specifically, because with MMA, it's like essentially all skills, it's like
Yeah.
everything. So there's so many different avenues in order to win. Like if you and I are fighting and it's not going well for me on the feet, maybe you're kicking my ass on the feet. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this down to the ground now. Let's try to win this way.
Yeah.
In boxing, your skills are so limited, right?
Yeah.
You got this hand, you got this hand. That's kind of it.
That's it.
There's no kick to the knee, or maybe I'll try to, but even in that skill, there's different ways to win.
Mhm.
Inside fighting, outside fighting. Maybe you do something drastic and switch your stance or something, or maybe you try to change your rhythm, or maybe the position that you're holding your guard. There's different ways to like change it, but it's a little bit more of a subtle game.
Yeah.
So that's what makes boxing in a way easier than MMA, because it's easier than MMA because you don't have to worry about so many things. Your training is so focused
Yeah.
on that. It's like, how are you going to train boxing? Well, you're going to box.
Yep.
In MMA, it's like, oh dang, you gotta you got to get your wrestling done. You have to learn jujitsu. You have to learn boxing, kickboxing. Maybe kickboxing is not your thing. Maybe you just need to learn how to defend kickboxing. And
Yeah.
so it's like there's so many things. Like boxing is it's very focused on that single skill, but that's what also makes it hard, because then it's like how
You
now
got to get really good at that skill.
you got to get real good, but everyone else is doing that too.
So you got to find a way to be even better.
Yeah. So
And
it makes it hard in some ways and easier in others, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. One thing I want to kind of bring it back to a little bit, and I'm curious about this. You were talking about your favorite fighter who went into isolation all the time. That's how he kind of just got rid of his whole like support system, basically. Yeah. Did you have a support system? How was yours? Was it like between coaches, friends, or even family? Like how did having a support system help you, if you even had one at those times?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so I think that's another, going back to kind of like the beginning about like how everybody has like daddy issues that goes into fighting. That is another thing that it brings as well, right? Like your training camp, your partners, although you're beating the shit out of each other, doing bad things to each other, and when the bell rings, don't get it wrong. Like you could be like best friends with some guy, and then once the bell rings for your sparring sessions, you are not friends no more. Like you are going to try to knock each other out and not even feel bad about it. But then when the bell rings, you're going to clean up each other's blood and help each other and go out to lunch afterwards.
Make sure you're okay.
But that's something that fighting will give to a lot of people, is a sense of camaraderie and a sense of belonging and a sense of being a part of a team.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. I had so many people that supported me through my journey when I was kickboxing and doing all the other combat sports that I did. But it's kind of hard thinking back to it, because there were some times where there was kind of like no support. And I remember one training camp just feeling, when I was working at UFC gym, one of my last fights actually, I remember feeling very isolated, very alone, thinking like none of my coaches or anybody, doesn't seem like anybody cares if I win or if I lose. And it was kind of true.
Yeah.
I remember going through my fight, and my coach at the time was just busy with something that weekend and couldn't even make it to corner my fight.
Oh my God.
And so like one of my training partners came and cornered my fight. And really, it didn't matter anyway. It's not like they're in there helping me fight this guy. Yeah. But you need the support from the corner, get you ready and warm you up and give you some advice when they're in the corner and everything. But yeah,
coaches play a big part of that.
Coaches do. Yeah, coaches definitely do.
Because I feel like that's even though obviously there's the difference between having that in the ring and being outside of the ring, coaches play a huge impact in any sport.
Absolutely.
And if your coach is missing, that can be a very big deal.
Yeah, you're right. And I've known some like really great coaches, but really it does come down to like the athlete as an individual. Like if you're meant for greatness, I think you're going to be great. I think that it doesn't really matter like what coach you have or what training camp you're from. I've known there are some really great fighters that have come from like nothing camps.
Yeah.
Just like it
just because they had that will and the desire to continue to try and drive and be great.
Yeah. Like there are some fighters that have come from like really famous training camps, like American Top Team or Team Alpha Male. That's one of the gyms I trained at. Team Alpha Male was, I can't remember the year, but one year it was voted the #1 MMA gym on the planet. And that's wild. That's down to Sacramento. That's like right there, So in terms of being like a lighter weight fighter, that was like the place to go. That was the place to be. But then there are some fighters of one of the best all time, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. He came from a gym where nobody even heard of it. And it was almost like just like not even a fight gym, just kind of one of those just kind of fitness it'd be like the boxing class that I teach at Lifetime. It'd be like having a world champion come from that class. You know, it's like, although it's a great class and we're doing some great drills and everything, it's like kind of not. It wasn't like really designed to create like world champions. It's like Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson kind of came from a gym like that, and he would say, you know, everyone knows that that saying, "Iron sharpens iron."
Yeah.
Mighty Mouse would say, "Well, that's true, but iron also breaks iron."
Yeah. Fair.
And that's true too, right? It's like if you're only training with people that are like better than you or as good as you, then in some degrees it could even make you worse in a way.
Interesting.
You know, like I'm sure I keep picking on you about the pickleball thing. Jack is a fabulous pickleball player, by the way.
Appreciate it.
But you know, if you're playing pickleball, it's say if you're up against somebody that's far better than you and you only trained with that person, like think about like who's one of the best pickleball players
like just of all
time.
I mean, Ben Johns,
right? Yeah, everyone knows him. Imagine like he being your only training partner in pickleball. Like, are you ever gonna hit the ball? You're probably never.
If we were playing against each other, definitely not.
You'd probably never hit the ball again, right?
Yeah. No.
So would playing against Ben Johns only, would that actually make you better? Because you wouldn't actually be practicing pickleball. You would just be practicing losing.
Trying to survive.
You'd be trying to survive, right? But so there's that side of it, right? Like if you're only training with people that are too high of a level above you, it can actually hinder you, right?
Yeah.
But imagine if you know when you go and you play, since you're very skilled at pickleball now. Imagine. Yeah,
I think you are hyping up my pickleball. I appreciate it.
I am.
Might be a bit much. I am mediocre at best.
Okay. If you can beat me, you must be great.
You have no pickleball experience.
I played a whole summer of pickleball.
That was a fun summer. We just were out playing every single day. We were doing singles.
It was fun, man.
That was a great time.
You know when you go against people in pickleball, and but you go against people that are like brand new.
Yeah.
And you know that feeling of like, you feel like it's making you worse, like in a way, because they're so bad and so slow that you almost like start mimicking their movements. Yeah. You know, you're just like, and then you go to play against somebody that's good and like your timing's all off and everything because you're just playing with somebody that's terrible. That'll also happen in fighting too, right?
Yeah.
So like, I think what you do is you get some type of benefit for training with different levels. Like if you train with people that are far below your level, one, you kind of get to, when you're teaching somebody, like they say that coaching is learning twice. Like when you're teaching somebody, you really have to figure out like, do I actually know this technique or something? Like, do I really know like the meat and potatoes of like what a jab is, for instance? Like, can I teach that? Because being able to throw a jab and being able to teach a jab are two very different things, right?
Okay.
So you have that teaching aspect of it that will make you better. But also, say, using a pickleball reference for an example, if you're against somebody that kind of is not that great at pickleball, like myself, and you're just smashing on them, right? You just but it kind of builds your confidence up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
The whole predator and prey thing. Going back to that, like you are programming yourself into being like, oh, I'm really good. And you're not second guessing your movements anymore. It's like that with fighting too. It's like if you train or spar with people that are kind of below your level, you're not so worried about certain things. Like you can just kind of freedom of expression of your movements, and be able to like give your best in the training. When you go against people that are your same level, that's obviously very good, right? Because then you guys are jockeying for position of like who is hunter and who is hunted. So like that's really like where the majority of your training partners should be. And then, but it's also good to feel that Ben John's level of
just to humble yourself and remind you, wow, okay, like, I've still got a long way to go.
That's the next level.
Yeah.
Right. Like you see somebody that's the next level and you're like, oh, okay, I got a long way to go. And like, that's what it's supposed to look like when I get there. So I don't know what the hell we were talking about before that.
We were talking about your support system
Oh yeah,
and
support
just
system.
everything that goes into that.
Yeah, it was probably
But
shit. Really, I mean, it was probably shit.
appreciate it. That's interesting. That's really cool though. I appreciate that story and that sharing that.
Yeah,
I want to bring us back on track a little bit because
yeah.
there's been one thing that I've been kind of curious about this whole time,
Mm,
just because I think a lot of what you have shared behind the mentality of it is very relatable to people who might be going through their own journey of weight loss or
mm.
even just their own journey in life. And I want to kind of bring this to a section where we relate it almost to training or towards like health.
Yeah,
And so I know that when you are like trying to prep for a competition or a fight, that you have to go through and either try and make weight basically.
mm.
And so one big thing is like your nutrition leading up to fights, and then how do you drop weight so fast? And so I guess my big question is like, how was your nutrition when you were prepping for competitions versus like in your off season? Like, how did that back and forth go for you?
Yeah. So, I think a lot of fighters, you'll see like a lot of professional fighters, and especially guys that would wrestle a lot, like wrestling in college. You're making weight like twice a week, and you'll see a lot of those guys when they're done fighting, they get fat. It's almost like it kind of almost like encourages an eating disorder in a way. And I mean it's essentially like anorexia. It's like what you're programming into yourself. So yeah, the nutrition, when I was fighting for maybe about half of it, I was vegetarian.
Oh,
Yeah,
I okay.
I used to be vegetarian. Let me tell you, don't
That's
recommend it. Don't
you're
even
like not the right way to go for that.
don't do it, man. Just don't do it. Bacon is good.
Bacon is good.
Don't do it.
Love me some good bacon.
Yeah.
Burgers also, oh, delicious.
Do you know? So the Diaz brothers, they came out of Stockton. I don't know
Hmm.
if you're aware of the Diaz brothers, but they're
I'm familiar with them.
Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz,
Yeah.
and I really kind of idolized them as well um, when I was younger, and they were both vegetarian. So
Huh.
I thought that I was like, man, if they can do it, I could probably do it too. So I was vegetarian. But to answer your question with nutrition, um, the game has changed quite a lot now. Like it's way more advanced. Like a lot of MMA fighters at the professional level, they will hire a nutritionist or a private chef, and to really help kind of do their weight cut the right way
Yeah.
instead of just starving yourself. You know, there's a fighter, Patty the Batty, Patty Pimblett, and then,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
and he's notorious for when he gets done with fights, he will blow up. Like he becomes like borderline obese. Like you watch, you go to his Instagram page and it's just
Yeah.
him eating like chocolate shakes and
Yeah.
cakes and
Oh
stuff,
God, that's my type of diet
Right.
right there.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah. But you're always on kind of like that cycle where like especially when it starts getting closer to the fight, you're really limiting your calories
Yeah.
significantly, right? But because you have to make weight, it's a weight class sport.
Hmm.
So, and I walk around right now at about 100 and in between 180 and 185. I fought at 135 pounds.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that is wild.
Isn't that wild?
I'll be honest. I don't know that I can imagine you that at that low.
You don't want to. You don't want to. I fought at 135 and I fought at 145. I fought at kind of both of those are the two weight classes that I competed at in MMA. And then in wrestling, I was around the one. Wrestling is odd. In high school and in college, I can't even remember the weight class. I think it's like 141 or 142, or it's like a
Interesting. Okay.
random weight like that, 141, 142. And I think I also competed at 147 or so. But yeah, that's like a big part of it is kind of depleting yourself in a
Yeah.
way. But and there was always that balance, right, between how you can't gain weight too much and you can't eat too much because then you're not going to be able to compete.
Hmm.
But also you don't want to deplete yourself too much because then now you're not going to be able to train properly, and you're
Yeah.
going to either skip practice, which would be the worst thing that you can do because you just feel so exhausted, or you can you go to practice and just have like a bad performance,
Mm-hmm.
and that's also bad, right? But so like if you see when you see fighters that are competing and they're competing at 145 pounds, 130, they're not they're not cutting that much like fat and muscle.
Yeah.
A lot of it at the end is the weight cut. It's a lot of water weight that you drop about 48 hours to 24 hours before the fight, and that is also another skill within itself.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way on the first time that I tried to make 135. I fought for an organization called Reno Ultimate Combat, and it was my first MMA fight. And I thought I watched the guys on TV like lose 10 pounds in a day. So, and that was like pretty common that they would cut down, they would like slowly cut down in the training camp with nutrition, right? Like just limit your calories, try to eat as much healthy, nutritious foods as possible, but eat a lot of them, but eat no processed foods, really avoid sodium, definitely avoid like all sugars as well, and just have like a healthy, clean diet that is solely based off of like whole foods.
Yeah.
But limit that as you get closer and closer to fight date, and then about a couple of days close to fight date, you would drop a lot of water weight. And losing water weight is its own skill. There's some people that have a remarkable ability to lose a lot of weight. Usually those are the guys they say that have like kind of like the bigger, rounder muscles, and the muscles are filled up with water. So when you start losing water weight, it pulls from those muscles, and it's way easier for those guys to lose weight. I was not one of those guys.
Oh no.
So I remember the first time that I made 135. I actually didn't even make 135. They let me like illegally fight there outside of my weight class. I think I finally weighed in at 137 or something, like 137 and a half. And I thought that it would be easy because the guys on TV were just losing like 10 pounds in a day. So I thought I could lose 10 pounds in a day if I just put a sauna suit on and hopped in the sauna and did some shadow boxing when we got to the hotel.
Yeah.
So we got to the hotel where we're fighting at in Reno. And I start getting in the sauna, and I got to weigh in like a few hours, and the weight's not coming off. The
like,
reason
this
why,
is not what's happening. Hold on.
right? But I hadn't trained myself. Like there are certain things your body gets used to anything. You know, like you see people that are like heavy sweaters, and but sometimes you can probably have experience in this also, is when you train brand new people, they kind of don't sweat that much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people that are brand new to working out,
or they sweat a lot,
or they might sweat a lot, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of an individual thing, right? But I did not train myself to be a good sweater. So like you kind of have to get used to that, to open up your pores and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a real time losing weight. I had to weigh in butt naked on the scale in front of hundreds of people, and
nice.
And you know, just I almost didn't even make it to the scale.
Yeah.
Mr. Marinoble had to carry me over his freaking arm and drag me through the hallway and just throw me on the scale, pull my underwear down, and I'm just standing there like that. And I weighed 137. I was supposed to weigh 135, and we came all the way down there. You know, we went all the way down to Reno from Sacramento.
Oh man!
And the commission kind of looked at Mr. Marinoble. They're like, I don't know. And he's like, please, like,
this kid is on death's door. Right
let's make it happen. And they let me fight, thankfully. But yeah, that's the nutrition aspect of it. It is very tricky, because you're constantly having to battle that like depletion thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of fighters, like I said, they end up with some type of eating disorder or something afterwards.
So do you feel like that constant change, just time and time again, of eating a lot and, you know, having drastic cuts took a toll on your body? And
yeah, it definitely does. Another thing is like with the weight cutting, for example, talking about amateurs and professionals, kind of going back to that. Amateurs usually fight the same day. So, like that fight that I was just talking to you about in Reno, that fight happened, you weigh in and then 3 or 4 hours later you're fighting. Opposed to like you watch guys on at UFC, on TV, and they're weighing in, and then the next day they're fighting, you have so much more time to rehydrate.
Yeah.
And that's really important for your ability to take punishment. So like if when you're dehydrated, you know, like when you haven't drinking water all day and you got like a headache.
Yeah.
Imagine that, and then somebody's hitting you in the head. Right? You'll see people, you'll see fighters that cut too much weight go down in like a foreign weight class, like go down in weight class, and they'll get knocked out.
Yeah.
You know, it just your brain is dehydrated. Your cerebral spinal fluid is dehydrated in there, so your brain's just rattling around and just hits the inside of your skull, and then you go night night.
Go night night. Round over, match over.
That's it. So yeah, you definitely, you got to be careful of how much weight that you cut. Like and it's a game that really only you know how to play. Like you're the only one that can feel like if you're depleted, or if you feel like you're dehydrated, or if you feel like you're cutting so much weight to where your performance and your power is being hindered.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of honestly just a big thing for everyone in general to realize is with all these different things that you'll see online now, like, oh, here's all these trends of how to lose weight, or all these different ways to, detoxify
The
your
snake
gut.
diet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have not heard of that one, and I'm a little concerned. But like, you see all these different things. Oh no! You see all these different things, and it's like, okay, just because it works for somebody else doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have the same effect on you.
Yeah,
you really do have to pay attention to your own body and just be like, okay, cool. What has worked for me in the past? Maybe not to the extent I'd like, but is there a way that I can kind of amplify that? And, I'm not saying don't try out certain trends, because sometimes they might work for you, but kind of like you said, everybody's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so you got to figure out what type of person you are, how your body reacts to certain things.
Right. But don't try the snake diet.
I don't want to, but I gotta ask.
So the snake diet. I actually don't know anything about the snake. This is the only thing I know about the snake diet. Is this was before you started at Lifetime, and I used to be an evening trainer, and I was there about like 8:00, 8:30 or something like that. It was late, and there's this girl that was kind of walking up, and she was kind of stumbling a little bit.
Oh no!
And I was like looking at her, I'm thinking, man, she does not look good. She does not look stable. So I'm like, I think she's gonna faint. So I run over there, and she faints right when I get there, and I catch her, and I place her on the ground, and I forget who else was there. I think it was Ryan Tolis. I think the nutrition coach that we had at the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, we bring her to. We didn't call code 100, by the way. We did terrible on protocol. But we,
for legal reasons, just kidding.
Just kidding. Code 100 was called. And anyway, we bring her to, and we're like, "What? Are you okay? Like, what happened?" And she's like, I was on the snake diet. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Snake diet? What's the snake diet? And she said it was like this new thing that like basically you try to eat like a snake. Like a snake only eats like once a month.
What?
Yeah. So like,
what?
Yeah, bro, the snake diet, man. So like,
Dude,
like you try to just engorge yourself as much as you can for like one day out of the month. And just stuff your face, just
go on the Bears diet during winter. Just only eat once and then hibernate.
The whole season. Don't eat for the rest.
Yep.
And hey,
just take a few months off of eating.
You might make fun of it, but I'm gonna be honest. She looked pretty good.
Other than the fact she's stumbling around, just fainting.
Other than that, I think the snake diet. Just,
next big thing.
Just look into it.
Comeback. That's going to make a comeback. That's the next big one.
Exactly.
Snake diet. I regret asking. I can't believe I did that. Oh my gosh. Okay, well then, aside from this ridiculous diets, I have a last question for you.
Okay.
Essentially, so what lessons do you think that you learned from fighting that you think would be very applicable to anyone on like their journey, whether it's weight loss or just kind of doing their best through life? Like, what do you think are some of the most important lessons that you learned as a fighter that would be able to just be applicable, even for some of your clients that you're training now?
Wow, great question. You know, I am definitely, at the end of the day, I am one of those guys that could have been somebody but wasn't. You know,
Okay.
and I think that the fear of competing and the fear of losing really got in my way at the end.
Gotcha.
And
I think that's a very big and vulnerable thing to say. So
yeah, I mean, it was. I think one of the reasons because I invested so much of it, it became my identity. It's still my identity. Like I'm the boxing guy at Lifetime,
yeah,
right? Like it's my identity. And I felt like if I lost, that I would just lose everything. I would lose my identity. I would lose my purpose, like everything in life. And my advice to somebody that is just starting out is to take risks and don't be afraid to lose.
yeah,
You, just like Conor McGregor says, we either win or we learn.
yeah,
And it's okay to lose. It's okay to put yourself out there and to risk losing. That's what fighting is about. And that is something I wish that talking about support, I wish that I had more support on that of people that were just like, hey, like just go out there, just do your best. And whatever happens, happens. You can't do better than your best.
yeah.
It's impossible to do better than your best. Like you can only
yeah,
do your best.
yeah.
Um,
Over time, your best may get better,
it may get better,
but
right?
you can still only give your best.
And it's okay. Like there are many famous fighters that have lost their first fight and come back and become world champion.
Yeah,
So that would be my number one advice to somebody that's just getting into fighting or anything that you're trying to pursue in life, starting up a podcast like this. Like be afraid to fail. It's okay
yeah,
to fail. Like the people that don't support you, the people that might make fun of you, or the people that might write you off, they never mattered in the first place anyway.
mm,
You know,
yeah,
so like who cares? The people that care about you are going to be there for you at the end of the day, no matter if you win or you lose.
yeah. I love that. I think that's a great message, and I think it's a great mindset to have. Because the reality is, you're gonna lose.
You're going to lose.
Life isn't always about winning.
It's not.
Well, I should say you're the true, but also you're not always going to win. Is
Not
what I
always going
meant
to win.
to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Doug. I'm really glad I got to have you on this podcast. I've learned a lot from you, and I've also just learned a lot about you.
Yeah.
So I've got to hear some really good stories that I hadn't heard before.
Probably
And
haven't seen my hairy chest
yeah,
before
there's
this.
always that. Yeah, shirt's
You
just
know?
killing me still. Learned about a snake diet today.
The
So.
snake diet. A lot of good moments.
Yeah, so I appreciate you coming on, man. It was a great time. And
Yeah, this has been great, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on.
yeah, of course. And I look forward to seeing you at work again. And who knows, maybe we'll get you back on again someday.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Great.